no news bigger than Kirk Cousins. Bench.
Yep.
Michael Penix to start. We called for it last week.
I called for it 2 weeks ago.
And I thought nothing. We've talked about this yesterday with Pete. Nothing I saw on tape changed my opinion on that. It's like, yeah, they won, but it wasn't as if anything he did was any different. It was just they faced a far, far worse defense, in my opinion. And so I don't know if Penix going to be better. I've liked what I saw on like his 6 dropbacks. I mean, he looks comfortable at minimum. It wasn't panicky.
Guy's taking a lot of snaps in his life.
He has a much, much stronger arm than Kirk Cousins.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. I'm excited.
I mean, honestly, when you look at the landscape of the league, it's not crazy to think that he might have a top 5 arm strength in the league just coming out. You got to think.
I'm thinking.
Mahomes, Allen.
I put Allen.
He might be there with Herbert, though.
Nah, I'd put Allen and Herbert ahead of him.
They are just.
No, of course, Allen. Mahomes probably too.
Yeah, Mahomes, I'd say, is stronger.
Anthony Richardson,
yeah, probably.
We're just going arm strength.
Yeah, we're not talking about accuracy, obviously.
Yeah. Who can really sling it? I mean, Caleb's, I think, was stronger even in this.
Great arm.
Really?
Yeah, I think Caleb's.
We just never see him throw the football. Okay.
It's so hard to judge arm strength when
you're not throwing it.
Okay.
I was gonna say at Washington we saw like Penix,
let's keep moving here, guys.
We saw Penix laid out there in Washington.
It's a plus arm.
But we talked to Matt Ryan about this because we have Matt Ryan on our Monday show, and if you guys don't catch us every Monday, we get the former MVP Matt Ryan of NFL Today to come on and give us his quarterback of the week, talk about some of the quarterback stuff. He talks about how important it is to have that arm talent and how much it opens up different parts of the field. That's one thing he pointed out with Josh Allen. You take a look at where his launch points are. Sometimes he's right by the first down marker on the sideline. He could be rolling left at 16 miles an hour, throwing back across his body to the right. And when you have that kind of arm talent, it opens up everything. And I promise you that skill room, all those skill rooms in Atlanta are excited because they know they're going to get more opportunities. And it's not an indictment on Kirk Cousins. This is just the reality of Father Time and going through some of the injuries that Kirk has gone through. And you know what? Like the guy from Step Brothers said, what if we get a look at the young bull? Maybe it's time for the young vet.
Now it's time for the young bull.
Maybe it's time to take some craps with the door open in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, me and Mike talked about this last week because we actually broke down the Monday night game before they played the Raiders. And the issue with Kirk Cousins is he doesn't look healthy out there on the field, right? This is one of the best play action pass quarterbacks we've seen in the last, I would say, decade, right? That's literally where he made his hay. And to have an effective play action pass game, you got to be up under center. And for most of the majority of the losing streak, he's been in shotgun pistol set, which would make you think he isn't comfortable taking the snap from under center, getting to his drop point, planning on that foot, and releasing the football. Again, that's what made him deadly in this league for a long time. So Zach Robinson, the offensive corner, was kind of minimizing what he could do offensive scheme-wise. And I think it came to a point where, and I stated this last night because I went up with the breaking news when Michael Penix was named the starter, that most coaches know the temperature of their locker room. And I had been saying this 2 weeks ago, like Raheem Morris is in a difficult situation because this is why you get paid the big bucks to be a head coach. Kirk Cousins, you paid a boatload of money essentially on a 2-year deal to bring him in, right? To essentially give you guys a chance to make a run in the playoffs. But the offense has not been playing well, and a big portion, if not most of the portion, has been because of Kirk Cousins, right? So now you worry about losing the locker room if you continue to put this guy out there. And also, we got to remember, Kirk doesn't have any cachet in this locker room. He just got there this offseason. Yep. So it's not like
has
he's
the
been
biggest
there.
Bag.
Exactly. It's not like he's been there for numerous years, built up that continuity where, we believe Kirk will turn it around, right? We have faith in him. We've seen it before. We've seen it before. That hasn't happened in Atlanta. And also, you took a guy in the top 10 where these guys throughout training camp, throughout all season, even during practice, have seen him, and I've heard reports that he's been lighting it up in practice.
It sounds like when Patrick was in Kansas City, and you hear some of those guys.
You had Alex Smith there.
When they talk about, and Alex Smith was a great player.
Really good player.
But you hear those guys like Travis talking about how much damage Patrick was doing on a day-in, day-out basis and how it would kill the confidence of the defense. Because they had
exactly. So you got to think, not only did Michael Penix look good in training camp, but he looked good in preseason, so much so that they didn't even play him the last preseason game. Yeah. Like people question Raheem Morris, like, why is he not playing? There's a reason he's not playing because they feel like there might be a chance that they have to go to him and they don't want to put him in harm's way. So I thought this was the right move. Again, me and Mike were talking about the schedule and how it's set up. you probably didn't want to put him out there versus Minnesota or Denver with those blitzing defenses and the way those defensive linemen can get after the quarterback. But I thought the Raiders was a perfect spot for him. No Max Crosby, the secondary beat up. Like, this is how you kind of get integrated into the offense, into the NFL. And then you have the Giants after that. Like, before you play the Commanders, I think that would have been a perfect 2 games set for him to get ready for that playoff-like game versus the Commanders. So I think it just came to a head, and Raheem Morris was saying, I can't lose this locker room. Like, we've given Kirk multiple opportunities. And even in the win, like Mike said, the offense looked abysmal. If this is an indictment on Kirk Cousins, they refused to put the ball in his hands at the end of the game to close out the game versus the Raiders. It was run, pass. And they got to let off the hook because they got a personal foul roughing the pass, which was awful.
Yeah.
Spillane, don't change anything you did,
great
Spillane.
Play.
That was a great play by you. That was an awful call by the ref. So they gave him another opportunity to close out the game, and Kirk Cousins couldn't do it. So I just think Raheem Morris knew the temperature of his locker room and was like, I can't lose these guys in this locker. I got to make a change. Let's go ahead and put the young guy in. There's a reason why we took him in the top 10.
And when you were talking about the differences between the gun play actions and the under center play actions, I can tell you from an offensive lineman perspective, when the place, if it's, let's say 95 versus a 35, 95 in the terminology I've played under is an under center heavy run to the left. If I hear 35, then all that is the gun version of that play. And what the fake is, it becomes a token fake, which is like, we're going to have this back crossing formation. He'll probably end up blocking the backside end or whoever comes off the edge, scam protection. But when you're heavy under center, that second level of the defense, the first level of the defense, the defensive linemen, they feel it. You get that impact. But if you've got a quarterback who's not confident getting back to 8 yards or whatever the drop is, whatever the hell it is, it's all behind me. I don't know. If he can't get to that spot, we don't get the suck from that second level of defense. We don't get the same level of respect. And I know Zach Robinson wants to go through that progression, and it just seems like they can't. And that's why we're going to Michael Penix. That coupled with the fact that he's got the arm talent that we know he does, the prolific touch passes we've seen, the deep balls we saw at Washington. This guy's going to be fun to watch, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Atlanta Falcons look the part this coming week.
Quick scouting report on Penix for those like unfamiliar with his game. The things he does differently than Cousins is he has a much stronger arm. We touched on it. He's a much better athlete. I mean, you're at a 4.58. He can evade. He doesn't use it oddly enough. Like he has speed. It's almost like Desmond Ridder, where it's like you almost never see it unless he's really out in the open field. It's not a big part of his game, but he has that if they want to utilize that to maybe make his life a little easier early on. And he's aggressive, man. He's a downfield passer.
You don't let it fly.
Chances. He is going to take those down the field. Now, while I was a little lower on him than where he ended up going 8th overall, even though I still didn't hate that pick, was he's never been the most accurate guy. He missed a lot of throws dating back to Indiana, Washington, wherever, and he's been banged up a ton was the other big thing with him. Multiple ACLs.
Lower body,
shoulder injury as well. Like he went through the ringer, but NFL ready, 6 years in college. Like the same thing we've said about Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, why they hit the ground running, should apply to Michael Penix.
Correct.
So I do think we're all in agreement that it was not only time, it was probably a little overdue in Atlanta.